Hi, and welcome to the best tutorial you're ever gonna have in your entire life with yours truly, Leo Vigdelzon. Woo! Clap, clap, clap. Anyway, so this is the coloring Bible made for the show, the normal MF. Anyway, let's jump right to it. Rules. Basically, the show is almost every shot is going to be on grayscale, except for specific parts which are going to be fully colored, but we'll get to it. So you see, we're limited on color, which means we're going to work on grayscale. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, grayscale, we don't have anything to work on. We have the entire system of colors, like red and stuff. Yeah, you're right. Colors are awesome, but we have to start from something which is grayscale. Actually, it's a great exercise to make the audience hooked on something they're not used to, like because they weren't born in the 30s or something. Keeping it simple. As you can see, we have a mfer with his dog Max in his room. His room is super messy, but we don't need to color every detail. We do understand there's a pizza box with an old pizza slice and shoes and dirty clothes and whatnot. But we don't really care about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on mfer, and we're going to do that by coloring him with lighter tones. So we see we're using a very limited amount of colors, like 5 colors, which is insane in nowadays terms. But it's super effective. We know who we're looking at, which is an effort. He gets the spotlight, like literally gets a spotlight. Next, we use 3 colors, and we can differentiate between uh, background, the middle ground, and foreground pretty easily with just 3 colors. Gray tones are very powerful too, so keep that in mind when you have like simple shots that you don't need to overcomplicate things. This is all you need, really. That's Dead, by the way. Say hi to Dead. Next, keeping it balanced. Once you do have all the scale, all the gray tone scale, it could get pretty messy, and the audience can get confused. And mfer is going to be colored in brighter gray tones, and the background is not so important, so it's going to be colored in a darker gray tones. Keeping in balance means sometimes you do have a concentrated amount of darks or lights in one point of the frame, which can kind of confuse the audience and make it feel unbalanced. We don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to use again the gray tones. Only this time it's going to be in our favor in balancing the frame, the shot. So as you can see in this example, a mfer is stuck in his desk to the right from him, right? And the foreground is also to the right. And we have like an unbalanced frame here because the dark foreground, attracts a lot of attention. So we're going to solve it just by adding a bit of gray tones, like this shadow to the left side of the frame. And now we have a balanced shot. We do know mfer is the important character. He's basically the only one moving in this shot. So we're going to be focused on him. And at the same time, we're not going to be curious about what's on the other side of the room because nothing's going to happen there. Next, the same rule. This room is super wide. The only dark thing is like maybe the shadow on the table, the couch, and that's it. So we're gonna balance it by darkening the TV screen, not the screen itself, like the framing of the TV, and adding a bit of a shadow to the left frame, which yet again keeps things balanced in the frame and it doesn't attract too much attention. We do know that is the main character, so our eyes are still focused. contrast. Contrast is really important because so far we've seen almost no shadowing in the examples. But what happens when you do complicate things with shadowing and things can get a bit messy. So in this example, we do use contrast and perspective. Perspective is a great way to focus the eye on what's important. But when you do have so many light sources, you have to make them organized. So as you can see, the lights are kind of pointing to mfer. And we do have this another great character called Captain Drill, which is super large and he's in front. You can't miss him, and you can't miss mfer as well, although the background is kind of messy and it has like many light sources, and the floor is a different color, and the ceiling is a different color. The eye knows on which character it should be locked on. Next, again, contrast. This shot does not have shadowing at all. It doesn't have much perspective except for the houses in background, but they don't attract a lot of attention. As you can see, the background has 4 different tones of gray, but they're all condensed, which means it cannot confuse the eye. It's like basically the same section of gray tones. What's in the foreground, which is Dad and the interviewer, these guys have a lot of contrast. You see, we're using like plain white and middle gray and darker gray on the interviewers, and you cannot miss the fact that these are the main characters and they stand out more than the background, which is flat. Next, colors. I know you guys have been waiting for this one. Coloring is not the main subject of this show. In this shot, you can see mfer's mom. She's an astronaut. She's an important person. She will never be colored, by the way, as well as mfer and Dad, like the other characters. But the background is colored. In this case, it's colored. Like the framing is not really important. We do know it can be wood or metal or something, and same goes for the statue. But the color here was used to balance out the great American flag on the left frame, because we don't want it to stand out too much. Next, video games. This is pretty simple. Animators usually don't color the video games. It's not the real world, and the real world sucks. So it's all in Grayscale. In mfer's wildest dreams, when he sees his neighbor Leaf, in this shot, he fantasizes about like flying with Leaf into the clouds, and God knows what happens next. As you can see, it's very saturated. It pretty much proves the point of like when we use colors. Next, Leaf dyed her hair blue. We never dropped that coloring off. Max's hat, again, pink. Leaf's hair, blue. It's like a rule, so don't miss it. Next, lighting. So there are 2 kinds of lighting in the show. The first one is the sharp edge lighting and shadowing. None of the characters have soft shading, soft lighting. Everything is going to be sharp, except for this second kind of lighting, which is soft lighting, which appears to be only emitted from screens. Phone screen, computer screen, a huge bread database screen. You can see there's a bit of a glow, but otherwise we do not use soft lighting. No matter what, we don't use gradients, we don't use soft lighting on dogs or cats or whatever. Everything is going to be painted in sharp edges, except for screens and maybe light bulbs, which mfer and Leaf have in their rooms. But don't use soft lighting. I'm watching you. Don't mess with me. Next, context. Throughout the show, we have many different kinds of colorings. And the context means you guys are going to have to color based on what the shot or the shot sequences are telling us. So this example goes from dramatic moment where dad understands his wife isn't coming home in the next few months from outer space, and he's bummed out. And he's worried about something else. He can't move yet outside of their house, and everything sucks. So we can add a shadow. Pretty soon, it turns out to be a comic moment, because that is just, he's going to get whiny. We don't have shading. We do use a little bit of darkening in the background, just so we can be more focused on that, although he pretty much stands out. mfer is a bit darker in the foreground, and we finish in shot B, which is shot C, but you know what I mean. Again, 2 colors. You don't need more than that. Another example, mfer gains confidence when seeing Dick Lichtel's Macho Man Chad videos, but he didn't apply for his dad's job at the bank, and dad is furious. This sequence starts as something funny and relaxed. As you can see in shot 1, you have literally 1 color. Once dad opens the door with a WWE kick, everything goes darker. The background is the light source, so we can paint it white, but everything else gets darker. That has shadow, and that's what makes the transition from the comic moment to the rage moment where everything is shaded. Now, talking about context and continuity. Each and every one of us can color things differently. You need to check what your friends are doing. If your friends are painting the room in some sort of way, keep that continuity. Always check what your friends were doing in the previous sequences or the next sequences. And of course, in your own sequence, when you're coloring, keep the same coloring palette. So let's talk about do's and don'ts. This show is considered to be an indie show, which allows us to be kind of lazy. You can color outside the lines and no one will actually care. It even adds to the show's charm. Being said that, don't be too lazy. Keep your colors in a form. Coloring still represents something, even when you color outside the lines. So when you shadow with thought. Like give it a thought. Understand why you're painting what you're painting. Like how much is too much. Some shots are gonna be very elaborated, like this establishing shot of mfer in his room for his first time. We do need to see a lot of details. So we need to see the foreground, which is massive. We need to see the middle ground where mfer puts on the light. We can see every detail, which is not necessarily going to come back later on the show because we don't need it anymore. But as an establishing shot, it's very important to do a bit more elaborating. This is why we have such a great range of gray tones. Do elaborate when needed. Don't elaborate when you're not needed, as in the example you're seeing right now. It's too messy. In conclusion, don't be afraid to ask questions. This is the only way you're going to learn. Don't be sad if you get revisions. This is the only way you're going to learn. And last but not least, don't be afraid to disagree with your supervisors. Thank you so much for listening throughout these long minutes of me blabbering about what's clearly visible on this slideshow. And see you next time. Bye.